Welcome to Southern Fried Baseball, brought to you by College Baseball Central, bringing you 90 feet closer to the greatest show on dirt. Here are your hosts.
Welcome in, college baseball fans. Sorry if there was some slight technical difficulties there as our stream was a little bit delayed. We had a fantastic Easter. We had 6 games Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We had 2 classics yesterday. Nick, how are we doing today?
Good. Yeah, it was definitely another weekend of unexpected outcomes in the SEC for sure. It seems like we keep saying this, or we've said it the last few weeks. This is just going to be a season-long torture for every fan base. Like every fan base is going to have a bad weekend at some point, or multiple bad weekends, and get through it. It's a long season. We still have 6 SEC weekends left, I believe. So still a long way to go.
Yep, we have about 60% of the SEC out in front of us. It's going to be a race for some teams to get to 14. Let's start with the 2 teams that have probably been the most disappointing. And after this weekend, one of them is really disappointing. The LSU Tigers go into Lindsey Nelson and take 2 of 3. Obviously, the exclamation point there was that 10-run inning in the 12th to beat Tennessee 16-6. Before we be positive with LSU, Tennessee sits at 4-8 in the SEC. Do you think that they could get to 14 wins in the SEC? Because it feels like with where their RPI is over 30, that they have to get to that 14 number. And what would you put the percentage-wise that they kind of figure this out down the stretch?
Yeah, I'd say they need to get to 13. Is probably where it's at from what we kind of did the math on it. 13 should be fine, especially RPI-wise, especially with the people they have on the schedule. Now, obviously, because their RPI will improve just because of who they play, obviously they need to win those games too, which helps improve it. But I think this, and I mentioned it in our Discord, basically the Insiders Discord, and I said like the total downfall of Tennessee is being completely overblown a little bit. 3 weeks ago, you're at Georgia, who now looks like a top 3 or 4 team in the country. You're a home run robbery away from winning that series. Talked about the last weekend, Vandy. You're basically 3 pitches away from flipping that series on its head, and you win that series. This week, you're up 4-0, 5-0, and grand slam happens in game 1. Yesterday, you basically have Levi Clark hits that ball to center field for a walk-off home run. That's 1 foot away. Or if Cade Arambidi doesn't turn into Barry Bonds, then they win that series. So the problem is that they keep finding ways to lose, and they're losing all the 50-50 games, which is where it's the toughest, because you lose those 50-50 games, which happens as a young team, especially in this league. Like if you're a young team in this league and other teams know how to win games late, that's going to hurt you. And that's kind of where they're at, because they keep having all these losses. That needs to flip on its head somehow, some way, whether it's, I don't know if that could just be this, like there's teams like that every year. And that could just be this team. I think the team is still good. Obviously, they're competing with everybody. Like I said, they just about beat Georgia at Georgia. So, yeah, I think the falling off the cliff stuff's a little overrated, because they could easily, their conference record could be flipped right now. But, yeah, they're going to find a way to win those 50-50 games.
And I should say it's not like unexpected. Like I think everybody kind of assumed that Tennessee was going to take a slight step back. Obviously, 4-8 is not what we kind of anticipated.
5 straight supers. And the winningest team over the last 5 years has been Tennessee. So yeah, taking a step back is that's nothing small.
I would say that they're just going to need to find who they are as a team. You know, at the end of the day, for as doom and gloom as everybody's going to be about them, they still have Landon Mack. They still have Evan Blanco on Saturday. They still have Appenzeller out of the bullpen. If they can figure out another one of those bullpen arms, because at this point, I don't think they're going to be like this bang it around the yard, break home run records team like they were in years past. But, I mean, there's plenty of teams that have figured it out. Obviously, they're running out of time sooner rather than later. But, I mean, it's weird because there's always that one SEC team. It's Missouri, it's South Carolina, then somebody else. And it feels like it's just Tennessee drawing the short straw. Obviously, there's still 60% of the season left, so it really isn't time to write off the ship yet. It's not time to call for Josh Elander's job at all. But again, I mean, it's a tough stretch down the stretch.
It is tough.
LSU.
Yeah. Well,
what did you think about them?
Go ahead. The problem is, Tennessee's biggest issue now is this weekend. You know where they're at this weekend? They're at Mississippi State in Starkville on the worst possible weekend you could go there after they just got swept by Georgia. It's like, this team just feels like they can't catch a break, and that's gonna hurt. They need to steal one, because if they come back 4-11, then that's when I think the panic button really gets hit.
Here are their next 6 series. They go to Mississippi State. They host Ole Miss. It's probably one of the better road teams.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, again, who knows what they're going to be 2-3 weeks from now. They go to KPP, which, again, is kind of a tough place to play historically for them. But this does feel like a team that's built for KPP. Yep. They go to Texas and then finish at OU. So, it's all still in front of them still. Obviously, it's not an easy stretch, but there's a lot of winnable series because, again, Bama's really, really hot right now, but they've historically faded. They pitch really, really well. That's kind of built for KPP. Texas, they might have stuff wrapped up by then in the SEC, so they might be going all out, balls to the wall. But for LSU, this is back-to-back series wins for them. They're 6-6 in conference. Aaron Beatty is kind of starting to find a spot. Pearson kind of seems to lock down third. They're going to be getting Cooper Moore back here in a few weeks. What do you make of this LSU team?
I don't think I learned.
Because it feels like they faced a lot of adversity, and they're really not sitting too far behind in all the SEC.
Yeah, I don't think I learned much about them this weekend. It still felt, because like I said, just on the flip side of what Tennessee, I said Tennessee is a swing away from winning that series, and then we're having a whole different conversation about LSU. If Curiel doesn't hit that grand slam in the 8th inning on Friday, they lose that opening game. Then if Aaron Beatty didn't go off kind of on his own to put them into extra innings on Sunday, we're having that different conversation. Now, William Schmidt has been their best starter, and he was probably their worst one this week, I would say. Kason Evans was fine. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad on Friday. They just need, it's their timely hitting. It's the same kind of problem. Like, they're getting guys on base. They just strike out a lot. It's the same kind of problem. We'll discuss this with Arkansas coming up too. They're having the same problem. Jay Johnson, you could tell, is fed up with it, because there's a couple of times where the camera's on him in the dugout and he's like, stop bleeping striking out, like yelling it in the dugout. So it's just that problem. But once again, talent is there. They keep stepping on their own feet. It's like you should have that game in control. Then you have what's his name, first baseman, drops a ball on an easy routine play. Then Milam makes a bad throw to second base on the next play. Then all of a sudden, grand slam, Blaine Brown. It's like they just can't get out of their own way either. So do I think it doesn't feel like they've turned a page? Like, I wouldn't say that I'm more confident in them coming out of this weekend than I was going into it. It just feels like they were the more experienced team and won on the road. And I mean, obviously props to them, but it's like, I'm still very, very concerned about this team in the long run. Like, this is going to be a tournament team. They're going to get in the tournament. Their record's good enough now. They've stole some games, but yeah, do I think this is like an Omaha team? It just doesn't feel like it right now. Oh, looks like we lost Jake.
Sorry about that. There we go. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of reset. But yeah, I think for me, this is one of those ones that we always talk. Like, I know we mentioned it with Mississippi State and Arkansas, where one of these teams has to lose. This felt like the inverse, where one of these teams had to win. I wouldn't say that LSU's by far any better than I felt like last week. Yeah, they tried their hardest on Sunday. I'm really curious what they do with the 3 catchers of Cerna, Aaron Beatty, and now Yaman.
Yeah.
Cerna's been a DH. Aaron Beatty's been a DH. Yaman obviously had the pinch hit. He kind of looked really, really good. What they kind of do with that. Do you move Pearson over to first? I know Pearson kind of looked terrible at first earlier in the year, but that's what it kind of feels like. They're still figuring stuff out. Obviously, they have Stanfield, they have Curiel, they have Milam, and Brown. Obviously, I don't know how I miss Brown. But outside of that, I mean, it seems like everything's kind of up in the air. Dardar, do you get him back in? Does Caraway eventually kind of get his way back into the lineup? Because we've seen this thing where when Jay benches people and they get a shot, they kind of come through and deliver. Like we saw it with York earlier in the year. We saw it on Sunday with Aaron Beatty, because if you remember, he didn't play in that Kentucky series at all. Yaman's been chopping at the bit. Cerna's another one where he gets benched and gets a shot. So you have to feel like that magic with Caraway is going to kind of come back. But again, where do you play him? Dardar's another one and that we kind of missed too, where he's been benched before and now worked his way back. Still a lot to figure out with this LSU team. It still feels like they're underperforming. I think I had them at 25. That's where CBC had them in the poll. That feels like the ultimate. That's where they are. Like, they're not terrible, but they're not bad. Like I think they're still a tough out. They're going to be competitive, I think, in every series going forward. It's just kind of where they go from here because they sit in 6-6. There's a ton of SEC teams in that 7-5, 6-6, 5-7 range. It's going to be the next month where everybody kind of separates themselves, and it's showtime for LSU. It's shit or get off the pot time if you're Jay Johnson. But I did want to address something because there was an article that came out about Jay Johnson not getting the funding for baseball that he probably would have liked last year, and they're choosing to fund women's basketball. Jay Johnson's buyout is $7 million. So in all these rumors and stuff that you hear, just keep in mind that Jay Johnson's buyout is $7 million. So do with that information what you will.
I mean, yeah, okay, but even if we took it, how many schools have that kind of baseball funding that can afford a $7 million buyout? Like you're talking a handful, maybe. I mean, maybe. But you're talking who would do it would be like Arkansas, like Van Horn is there, Texas, obviously Schloss is there, Florida, O'Sullivan's there, like maybe Florida State, but like obviously
they have Link. A&M's not doing
Link's
it.
going nowhere. So it's like there's very few teams. Like the only thing would be, Tony V this year, obviously, dude, his team is bad in San Francisco. But does a leap like that happen? Like, is it something where MLB teams, like now that kind of the seal has been broken to go to a college coach, could that be a possibility? Maybe. Side note, I thought this was hilarious that Tony V and Jay Johnson both got thrown out on the exact same day. That just took me back to old times. That was very funny yesterday. So, but yeah, no,
this is actually back-to-back Sundays where stuff's got weird at LSU with the coaching staff. Because
in fairness, I might have gotten tossed too. And
that was terrible.
But also, I get where there's two ways you can go about this. One part I hate about college baseball is why are you look at college football, like think of Nick Saban and like Dabo Swinney. They absolutely are in the ears of officials the entire game, just ripping them apart. You look at basketball, Tom Izzo. Obviously Hurley, great example, playing tonight, just rip officials. And it's like as soon as a baseball head coach says like 5 words, see ya, like an automatic rule. It's like he was barely like 4 feet out of the dugout, and that umpire's like,
yeah, and he kind of did it nonchalantly too. That was the part that really kind of pissed me off.
It's also there also needs to be like some sort of like, obviously the umpire had to know he missed it. Like an umpire knows when you miss a call. Like it's one of those, like he called strike 3 and it's probably like in the back of his head, it's like, crap, I missed that one. Because it was agreed.
I don't know. I didn't get that vibe from him.
I don't know, but
with his reaction.
Maybe it's like there also needs to be a point where it's like obviously you can't like overturn it. Like that never happens in baseball. It's not like you can call strike 3 and be like, no, sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. Do you think the umps can do ABS like when they miss a call?
No, because you'd have to put that for 320 teams, and the Long Island Sharks aren't getting that done up there. So it's a tough spot. But also, like if you realize you miss one or think you miss one, let the coach have his say and just be like, can't really put your hands up, but just be like, okay, don't toss him. But yeah, that was such a quick hook, but it was funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Let's move on to the other Sunday game. The Missouri Tigers take 2 of 3 from Kentucky up at KPP. This is now 3 straight series loss for Kentucky after their sweep of Alabama. Missouri, this is their first SEC win since Texas A&M last year. It's the first time they are not in the basement of the SEC since May of 2024. So it's been a long time coming for Missouri. They also get Blaze Ward got Freshman of the Week. So, I mean, it was an exciting series for Missouri. But does this tell you a little bit more about Kentucky? Because I feel like a lot of people, myself included, wanted to have Kentucky in that tier 1 Omaha type team, and they're just not it. I mean, they don't have the bullpen of an Omaha team. Some of the lineup near the bottom has kind of been terrible. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this Kentucky team because I feel like my hat's between my legs with them so far.
I definitely will say I learned more about Kentucky. Missouri played their game. Like we've talked about this for the last 2 or 3 weeks, how scrappy they are. And that's exactly how they won those games. Like the at-bats, stolen bases, bunting runners into scoring position, just trying to get 1 or 2 at a time. that worked for him this weekend, and that was great. And that ballpark works well too for Missouri. Like it's very very it's probably the closest to their own ballpark, like in Missouri, like them in like Texas with the size of it. So that plays well for them. And Kentucky doesn't have the power that they kind of showed off some power at the beginning of the season, and that just hasn't kept going throughout the entire season so far. But the surprising thing, you have to give Jackson Jelkin a pass. Obviously, his worst outing of the year. It was bound to happen eventually. Like not everybody just kind of cruises through an entire SEC season without kind of a blip on their radar. Great to see Nate Harris throw well. He dominated on Saturday, and that was just had no issues. Once again, though, we have to bring up Ben Cleaver. We talked about this on Thursday. It's like, is this his last week in the rotation? Is this like where the pressure's on and he has to show something? He didn't show something. Like, now the question becomes, do they have anybody that can replace him on Sundays? Because right now, that's sort of just been like it's going to be a shootout. And that's not how Kentucky wants to win. So they need an answer there.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make because they kind of feel a little bit like A&M in a way where, yeah, their weekend guys have been bad, but nobody in the bullpen's really stepped up to like take over that role. Niall
Agreed.
Adcock started for him. Ira Austin, I believe, started for him. But again, those are two guys that have not had good seasons or even warranted that. Obviously, you lose the Jelkin series, so it's really not – or the Jelkin start. So you're already kind of behind the eight ball. It feels like if Kentucky wants to win series, they got to win stuff from that. But I mean, Missouri, like you said, they played their game. I mean, Pierre Seals is, I think, one of the best players that no one's talking about. They got really, really great starting pitching up at the top. Missouri is for real by Missouri standards. Obviously, I got to do it with like a Missouri fan who was like, "Yeah, like we're not legit." I'm like, "Y'all are legit by like y'all's standards, not by like normal standards." But again, I think they got to get more. It feels like Kentucky's lineup's really, really kind of top heavy. Like it's Bell, Lawrence, Brown, and Hindle. Yep. And then outside of that, they're going to need to see some guys step up. Tiger Tyson's a guy that there was a
Cerny
really, really big
healthy.
get up.
Yeah.
Tharnish, I think at the top of the order, has got to do a little bit better job. But I mean, I'm not ready to give up on Kentucky because I still feel like a team that's so close. But the thing that they did Friday night against LSU 2 weeks ago, I mean, this just looks like a different team. Like they don't have the bullpen. They're not desperate to score runs like I saw on Friday. So it's going to be a really, really interesting kind of Kentucky. They're one of those ones where, you know, I want to see a more month of Kentucky just to see kind of how they do.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
On to our next series, the Texas Longhorns go to Founders, drop Thursday night, and then take the next two, roar back. What did you see from Texas there? Was that the ultimate look ahead spot, if you will?
Yes, we keep talking about this we said this on Thursday. It felt so sleepy, and I think we both mentioned like we wouldn't be shocked if they drop one here, just because like South Carolina hasn't been playing awful. They just haven't been winning the games outside of stealing one here and there. So it was one of those where it's like Texas has hardly left the state of Texas. They had to do that. It's probably. Would you say it's probably their longest trip? Like South Carolina, like from Austin to South Carolina is probably their longest trip of the season. You kind of get in a sleepy spot. Ruger Riojas finally has a down game. That was shocking. And it just happened to be at the same time that the offense didn't hit. I will say what I'll take away from a positive note, the bullpen looked so much more dialed in, like in everybody. Like it wasn't just like they had to bring one guy in and then two hitters they struggled and then had to bring in somebody else immediately. It's like everybody they brought in was nails for at least an inning or two, did their job. I thought that was great to see because out of all of South Carolina's flaws, for most of the season, the offense hasn't been the major flaw. So for them to actually shut them down after that Thursday game I think that was very, very enlightening to see and like good for the future look ahead of their season.
Yeah, that Thursday game I think was the biggest anomaly of the college baseball season. It's the reason it's kind of like the Rockies beating the Dodgers, if you will. Like it's baseball, stuff happens. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the bullpen. Yeah, I mean Thomas Burns looked really, really good out of the bullpen.
Yeah,
I think he's kind of the big X factor for him because if they can get him and let me pull up the names just because the name's eluding me. Give me a second. Hayden LeFew. I wanted to call him Matt
Yeah,
LeFew.
the Wake
Sorry about
transfer.
that. Mozart and LeFew have been absolutely nails. Crossland, obviously, if you're going to talk about that one having a freshman moment, I think he kind of feels like the most up and down, where when he's on, he's on. But if they can get Burns going, I mean, this turns into a team that is probably one of the only teams that can roll through a loser's bracket against anybody if they can get Thomas Burns going. The only thing, and again, this is very, very nitpicky because, I mean, Texas is the number 2 or 3 team in the nation. They play around a little bit too much. And yes, they respond every single time that they play around. Like the Tarleton series, they immediately turn around and respond. Auburn, they immediately turn around and respond. And then now South Carolina, they immediately turn around and respond. If they do that kind of thing where they play around against a really good team and they do respond, because a good team will punish you when you kind of play around with them and piss a game away. Obviously, that hasn't really happened to Texas, but that's really kind of the only worry, if you will. And if UCLA drops a series, they move up to number 1. But that's about how I feel about Texas.
Yeah, same. I know, like we both voted Texas number 2. I think that's still the case in my opinion. I know Georgia had an awesome weekend, but it was one of those, and just from a numbers perspective, because I know I sent this because me and Matt were talking about this morning about why we each did what we did, which he had great explanations, and so did we both did, and it was one of those where it's just like, okay, this is great. But here's why I kept Texas above Georgia. They have a better record with the strength of schedule at 10 compared to Georgia's 63. RPI is 3 compared to Georgia at 21. They have 9 Q1 wins already compared to Georgia has 5, and 3 came this weekend. And then 12 of Georgia's 27 wins are Q4. Georgia's 12-0 in Q4 games. That doesn't that gets completely wiped off the map when you're talking national seeds. The committee doesn't even look at your Q4, period. So they basically take those wins off the table. So that's the only reason I did it. I did it more of if you asked me who is playing better right now, I would probably say Georgia. But full season, who has a better body of work, I'd say Texas.
Yeah, and I think I would kind of go similar things. Before we move on to Georgia, Mississippi State, Anthony Pack is just continuing. He takes mature at bats. He takes 5th-year senior at bats. He's absolutely nails. He doesn't really. I don't think he'll get a lot of recognition just because I don't think he has the power numbers that some of these other freshmen have. He's not going to light up the radar gun. Obviously, Volantis won it last year, so he's probably not going to be in the finals. But I mean, he's an invaluable piece to this Texas lineup. If he can stay hitting the way that he does, I mean, this team's ceiling is off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, they got held to 1 run on I guess Thursday. He had 2 or 3 hits. He had 2 hit game and a 3 hit game in the first 2. It was he was the one in the lineup that, even though they were having an off game, was still hitting.
Yeah, and he had that weird play on Tuesday with him and Temo where they both went out for a fly ball and both kind of looked at each other. And they immediately both turn around and start working. They stay late on Tuesday. I think that just kind of shows you the kind of player that he is. But let's move on. Mississippi State gets swept by the University of Georgia, 10-9, 3-1, 8-5. That game 2, they went against Valanciunas and really kind of outdueled them. Georgia won a pitcher's duel, which, again, they did last week on Saturday against South Carolina. Obviously, it was a much tougher opponent. What did you see from Georgia this weekend? Because this felt like the best weekend of any team in the country.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me take Georgia and see if I'll let you handle all of Mississippi State, and we'll do it that way. I thought this was the loudest weekend from Georgia, and not from just because they beat number 4 Mississippi State in Starkville, which nobody does. Even on their down years, it's very, very, since that, I think the last time they got swept was when 2022 Tennessee came in there, and we all know what.
No, Texas swept them last year. But
did they? Okay, I guess I missed that one.
If you remember, though, that was where that was the beginning of the end for Lemonis.
Was that the okay? I think I do remember that now, because that's when Texas was. Wasn't that right after Pierce had been let go? Or no, that was 2 years ago that I was thinking of. But
that was that was opening weekend of SEC play.
Okay. But yeah, I would say, so to take that off the board, not just because, like I said, winning in Starkville against number 4 team, the way they won, I think, means a ton. They won a shootout, which they're going to have to do at times. It's Georgia. It's how Johnson set up the team in the first place. But for them to win these pitchers duels that they're winning has been awesome to see, because that's what they haven't been able to do in the past. It's like anytime their offense has been for the last 2 or 3 years, anytime they've been held to 3 or 4 runs, it's rarely turned into W's. And to get these outings from Volchko, Vigneault continues to surprise. And he had one down week, I think it was last weekend, where he was down one. So he continued to surprise. Then you're talking about Matt Scott on the back end. Who else? But it's these bullpen guys. Caden Aoki is who I was thinking of. Unless I'm missing something, this was the first time that they've had that. I think this is the first time that Matt Scott has pitched twice in a weekend. I know Aoki had done it one other time, but for them to show that they can come in at the end of games and be absolute nails when they've never thrown out of the bullpen before. Like, these were starters that came in from Stanford, one came in from USC. And for them to be starters and both throw twice this weekend, which, like I said, Matt Scott hasn't done yet up until this point. And that's what I texted the group on, I think it was Saturday. And I was like, heads up, Matt Scott's coming in. First time he's thrown for the second time in a weekend all season. This could either be huge news for Georgia, or it could go absolutely terrible. Ended up going great. So that's a very good sign moving forward. The offense is going to do what the offense does. There's not really, we could talk about the Georgia offense to death, which we have on this show week after week. So there's not much to discuss about the offense. I would say it just one guy steps up after somebody else is down. So So I think the pitching staff coming out of this weekend is the major story.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other story for me too is Dan Jackson behind the plate. I know that the strike.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He had for his standards, he hasn't hit a home run since, I think he hasn't hit a home run this month.
I was referring to him stealing strikes. Like, I know that Mississippi State fans like to bitch about the strike zone, but I mean, I saw the perfect game footage. Like, he was stealing them, like, in every sense of the word, which I think is a really, really underrated thing that a lot of people don't talk about. Mm-hmm. For Mississippi State, I mean, if you think about it, for as bad as the series was, Charlie Foster, like, this is probably what you thought you were going to get, like, when you roll him into the Friday roll. You were kind of already playing with house money after the Ole Miss start that he had last week. And then from there, Valanciunas loses a 50-50 game. You're in that game. And then Sunday, 8-5. Again, you're in that game. You take it to extras. Your bullpen's already shot from Charlie Foster throwing 2 innings. Again, here's the part that just continues to bother me, if you will, about Georgia, is every single weekend they have a starter who doesn't pitch deep into the game, and it does not matter. Like, this week, it was Kenny Ichikawa on Saturday, on Saturday, Sunday, if you will. He got 1 out, 2 walks, and it doesn't matter. Like, every other team in the country, if your starter's chasing the first or second inning, you're behind the 8 ball. But for Georgia, it's just like, we'll roll another one out there. But for Mississippi State, I mean, it's a bad weekend, but they went 3-3 last weekend up at Ole Miss, or they swept at Ole Miss. So, like, you're kind of back on schedule. Like, obviously you don't have enough room for error, but 3-3 in the SEC and a home and road split isn't really terrible. That's kind of what you're supposed to do. So, for as bad as it was for Mississippi State, just flush it, move on. Georgia's a really, really good team. Like I said, the fact that we're even discussing them in Texas, it just shows you kind of how good they are. Just flush it, move on. You're fine.
Yeah, for example, I don't know what you did, but I literally kept Mississippi State at 5. All I did was, I think I had them at 4 last week. I have Mississippi State at 5 because, like, this weekend, it just felt like one of those weekends. This weekend didn't bother me enough to say, like, oh my gosh, I'm so down on this team now. Because every time I look behind them, like, who I had ranked right behind them, it's like they're playing North Carolina. Who do I think wins the series? I think Mississippi State does. Florida State, I'm probably going Mississippi State. Bama, I know Bama's hot, but I still think Mississippi State is the better team. Auburn, Oregon State, UCF, Coastal. It's like, I get why people moved them down, like people who could drop them. It's like it's sort of become like a rankings thing in college baseball. It's like you lose a season, you get swept, you automatically have to drop like 5 or 7 spots or something. But in my case, like I literally put them at 5 because I still think they're a top 5 team in the country.
I moved him at 8. Again, I think it's one of
Yeah,
those
which is
things that gets
understandable.
swept
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
I moved him behind Florida State, UNC, and Bama. I mean,
But
Bama's
would
just
you?
ridiculously hot right now. I think
But
you. I mean,
in the series, who would you pick between Mississippi State and Florida State right now?
right now I'd pick Bama, but if it's a month from now, I'd pick Mississippi State because I think Bama's going to fade.
No, like Florida State or North Carolina.
I'm SEC biased, so I'm going to go Mississippi State. Like, it's
Yeah,
horrible.
that's kind of how I determined it. Like when I do my rankings,
I think Tennessee would take a series from Virginia,
No,
and I'm
I
Virginia ranked.
not right now. I think Tennessee can't score enough to beat Virginia right now.
Let's move on to the Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
They go into Oklahoma, take 2 of 3. They didn't win it back to back, so the winning streak kind of ended.
Yeah.
It was that Zane Adams start, which again I thought he pitched kind of fine.
Yeah,
they bounced back, get him on Saturday. I'll start with OU because I feel like this kind of told me a lot about OU.
Mhm.
What are they going to do with Friday night? Like LJ Merciless is pitching at a literal Golden Spikes watch list level, and then the last 2 weeks they speed him up into the Friday roll, and he's abysmal. And then you turn around and Cam Johnson, who was abysmal in SEC play, his walk bug kind of came back. They move him back to Saturday, and he's completely fine. What do you do if you're coach there? Like, do you speed up? Like, does Cam get back into the Friday night role and that messes with his mojo? Do you move LJ to the Sunday role and speed up Cord Rager? Like, it just feels like a lose-lose situation where you can talk yourself into 1,000 different ways. I bet you he's got a T chart of just pros and cons. Because there's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. But, I mean, they got to get something out of their Friday nights or this team's going to be behind the 8 ball a lot.
Yeah, I think you're in a position where you kind of have to trust Mercurius right now. Cam Johnson, we've talked about this. Like, it seems like it's like his thing is it's not talent whatsoever. It never has been. It's sort of like a mental thing. Maybe he's just more comfortable, like being game 2. Like some guys, I've known plenty of guys. Like there's been plenty of guys throughout the year. Like for some reason, when you put him in that ace role, nighttime, like the opening night, it's like it just doesn't work. And some guys just need that Saturday. It's a little bit more calming. There's not.
They did it with Drew Beam when Tennessee won the national championship, if you remember.
He went to Sunday.
Yeah, he was like their best pitcher.
Well, okay, no, I'm talking about the year before. Yes, but because that you're talking about that was a different thing. But yes, there are certain guys that just work out better, and I think that could be the case, and that was good because it was one of those where especially the first inning of the Cam Johnson was like, it was 2 walks. It was like a walk. I hit my pitch. He threw the ball away like to second base trying to turn 2, and it's like, oh, here we go. And then literally just couldn't. He was untouchable the rest of the game. Like I think he had one more walk the rest of the 6 innings. So that was definitely awesome to see. But yeah, I think just from a mental standpoint, I think because you're gonna have to get something out of Mercurius no matter what. So it's like he's gonna like that. They need to stay there and hope he figures it out.
Yeah, I think that he needs to stay there. Caden Leon is, I think, another bullpen arm, and Jackson Cleveland. Like, OU has a lot of pieces. Did want to give a shout-out to Micah because Micah's just sent over a pretty unique Oklahoma lineup. And I'll read it off here because it is a midweek. It is a Monday.
I just turned it on.
Camden Johnson in the leadoff spot at second. Willits, who's been hitting in the 4 hole at 2. Gimbel, who's been leading off 3. Brendan Brock. Nolan Stevens, LaChance behind the dish, Taki at first base, who again, he's kind of been in and out of the lineup, and then Jason Walk at third base. So no Kyle Branch, and they move Jason Walk into the infield. What do you make of that for them?
I would say it's a midweek. It's a midweek. Let's kind of toy around with some things. Type of thing. It's not like this is a must-win game from them. They already took the first game from DBU at home. Now you're on the road. You just had a very tough weekend. It's sort of like a, hey, let's reset kind of mentally. Let's just not throw, because it seems like if you just throw the exact same lineup out there again, then you're kind of just, okay, this just is another game. Let's mix some things up a little bit. Let's try some things. Maybe some of it works. Maybe some of it doesn't. If it doesn't, you don't get punished for it in any way. It's not like you're losing an SEC game. So I think it's a great spot to try it especially against the Dallas Baptist team that is very competitive. And it's like, because you're not going to learn anything playing some, like, whether it's a very, very small mid-major. But it's like you can learn stuff against DBU because they will punish you.
Yeah, they can hit.
Like
I saw them a couple weeks ago. Like, they can hit. Walk's interesting, though, because I remember saying in the fall that it felt like OU had 6 outfielders for 4 spots. And this kind of gives you a chance to move in another outfielder. Branch, I think, has taken a big step back as a sophomore. He really hasn't had a lot of competitive at-bats. He was already kind of hitting 9th. So I like Gimbel moving out of the leadoff spot, too. I think he's got a little bit too much pop to be in the leadoff spot. So it's a really, really interesting lineup. But let's talk about Alabama. I mean, they go, like, it's not just that they're hot. They lose a game and then immediately bounce back and play extremely, extremely well. I mean, it was a back and forth game that ultimately Alabama ended up getting that big hit that big hit in the middle. But I mean, is Alabama for real? Like, because I said this last year and kind of ate crow on them because they faded down the stretch. I didn't want to pull up the stats because I looked them up. Alabama was 25-4 at this point last year and finished 16-14 with 10-11 in SEC, with 3 of those wins coming against Missouri. So again, they're a little bit behind schedule where they were last year, quote unquote. But do you think that this team is one that's built for the long haul, or do you think they're just a flash in the pan, extremely, extremely hot?
Crazy thing is only time will tell with this team, because it seems like right now they're getting outside of the explosive games they have. They're that team kind of opposite of Tennessee and opposite of LSU, where they are getting that big hit at the right time. Now, half the time it's Bryce Fowler, the other half it's Brady Neal, and it's like outside of those two, they haven't been crazy. Like this with Justin LeBron, I think had 1, maybe 2 hits all weekend. So once again, this is another, and it's like we keep waiting and we keep saying this. It's like they're doing this without LeBron going crazy. They're doing this without LeBron like having a great season. He also made, I think, 3 or 4 errors defensively. So it's not like he's just picking it short either. It's been, so from that standpoint, it's been very strange. So it's like, if you believe that LeBron's going to eventually turn into Justin LeBron again, then great. Or is this kind of like just that Justin LeBron we saw, where it's like when he got into SEC play, then pitchers haven't figured out, he just struggles. So only time will tell there. But yeah, I mean, as long as Brady Neal becomes the hottest hitter on the planet, or stays the hottest hitter on the planet, and Bryce Fowler in that leadoff spot gets off. I think he was 7 for 14 this weekend with like 5 extra base hits, 7 RBI from the leadoff spot. It's just,
and that's after he has the series of his life against Auburn. So this is back-to-back series for him.
Correct. Yeah. So it's just one of those. Yeah, those two need to keep carrying. From a pitching standpoint, though, like it was another great weekend. Tyler Fay, once again, great weekend. Zane Adams, you mentioned that's the game they lose, but you can't put it on.
They were in it. Yeah. It wasn't because of him.
Absolutely. And then Miles Upchurch again as a freshman. He rolls his ankle. Thought he should have been taken out. I thought he should have been taken out of the game because it looked pretty bad, and he clearly limping. But then also, like, it was weird that Oklahoma didn't try to bunt on him. Like, they didn't try to bunt for a hit at all. It's like, make a guy like.
And they love the bunt. That was the part that was weird.
A guy who's limping around there. He's already a big guy to begin with. It's like, make him field his position. They didn't do it, so that was kind of odd. But yeah, it was a great showing once again. And this is like a week after third straight week. Third straight week. Because the Kentucky one wasn't great. But yeah, third straight week where this pitching staff has just been nails.
Yeah, I think the thing for me, and you kind of touched on it a little bit about LeBron, but I think the other one is Will Platner. I mean, this is a captain that's hitting under 200.
Torres.
Yeah. I mean, this it's one of those ones where it's like, okay, we know Brady Neal's not going to hit 400, so what do they do when they? But again, it's like Platner's not going to hit under 200. LeBron's probably not going to hit 250 all year. Like they're going to get hot. So that's the thing about me is I feel like this team kind of built itself to succeed later in the season. And this is kind of like them starting to kind of figure themselves out. They have an identity. OU, a lot like LSU, is still kind of looking for the right pieces to fit in, whereas Alabama doesn't. So I think that's the thing for me. Oklahoma sits at 5-7 in the SEC. I think they'll eventually kind of figure it out again. I mean, they were getting all the big hits against A&M. They're getting all the big hits against LSU. I think they just got to get back to their team identity. I think they kind of got to go on the road a little bit. But I feel fine about both of these teams. I don't know if that's how you feel.
Yeah, I have Oklahoma ranked 16th still. I still think they're that good of a team, but it feels like one of those. I think they are. I would say almost. I hate to say the word regressing because it's not like they're not really regressing. It's just been 2 weekends where you've played 2 top 5 teams in the country. Like you just went to Texas and then or not 2 top, but then and then yeah, Bama, not a top 5 team, but top 5 hottest team in the country. So it's like it's tough to draw conclusions off of it really. So I still think they're good. And like if you look back at like how everybody talked about them in the preseason, we felt like they were going to be around one of those teams in the SEC that is 15 and 15, 14 and 16, 13 and 17. They still kind of feel like that. I don't think there's I think they'll be I think they're more of like the 14, 16, 15, 15. Steal a game right here is 16, 14, which is like how I think we all probably expected to be coming into the season. So I think they're kind of I would say they're matching expectations, and especially coming out of these 2 of their toughest weekends they'll have all season. I think they'll learn from it.
Yeah, that would make them 9-9 down the stretch in the SEC, which is kind of
Absolutely
about
fair.
Yeah. I mean, the A&M series win looks a lot better than it did probably after that A&M series win, which is kind of a good segue into them. You know, they go on the road to LSU, they go on the road to Texas. I think that they're still kind of just licking their wounds a little bit. I think they'll be fine once they kind of figure out LJ and he kind of gets back to normal. I think they'll be fine. Same thing with Alabama. They're 25-8. I think that they're not just a flash in the pan. They really kind of are starting to prove. Let's move on to probably the weirdest series of the SEC weekend. The Texas A&M Aggies played the Vanderbilt Commodores Thursday night. Connor Fennell shoves, and Vandy wins that game. A&M fans turn to Twitter to freak out at the 14-8 loss. And then they turn around and sweep the doubleheader 8-4 and 12-0. Was it Landon Sims who won SEC Pitcher of the Week as they threw a complete game shutout?
Say Connor Fennell shoved. That's the game where there's 11 home runs.
By his standards.
No. But go ahead. I was like looking I was like thinking I had the games wrong in my head. I was like, wait a second. I need to go back and look. And I was like, I knew that was the 11 home run game.
Yeah, okay, first let's start with Sadeo. Is that not the weirdest? Is he not the weirdest pitcher in college baseball right now? Because like he goes 5 innings, he gives up a ton of home runs, but he strikes out a ton of people. So I feel like, and all the home runs are with 2 strikes. That's the part that's so maddening. Is it's like, okay, maybe just Sadeo can't finish people. It's like, no, he struck out 10. Like it's insane, you know. Yeah, Mancini had a home run, Barcy had 3, and Tommy Good, and they were not cheap either. I was there on Thursday. They were not cheap home runs at all. But
Sorrell had 2. Bear Harrison breaking out, I thought was good.
Yes. Sorrell had 2, by the way. That was what was so weird. Everybody was kind of like doom and gloom, where it was like, we got 2 home runs from Bear and 2 home runs for Sorrell and lost. We're screwed. And then they turn around and sweep the doubleheader. I'll say this, and I said this to Micah. I know that Mississippi State is stealing a lot of the headlines, but A&M and Mississippi State feel like eerily similar teams based on results, by the way. It's not saying that I think Mississippi State's obviously a lot better. They have a little bit more talent. They have a better bullpen, but they're having eerily similar seasons when you really kind of look at it on paper.
Yeah, I would say, the only difference I would say, obviously I trust Mississippi State's pitching a lot more than Texas A&M. And I would say from a lineup standpoint, they're not quite as reliant on the home run as A&M. But now if A&M keeps hitting the home runs at the pace they are, then that's not an issue. So that's kind of how, But yes, like especially record wise and stuff like that, I definitely see
common opponents.
Like I mean, I moved Texas A&M up, like I had them fairly high. I have to go back and look. But I think
I have them 13th.
Okay? Yeah, I mean I have them pretty high. I have them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I have them 13th too. I think from what I learned from this weekend, I thought I would love that Aiden Sims got back to like what he had been. That was kind of very important to see, especially in the second game of a doubleheader. Especially like I obviously wasn't a pitcher, never was in my entire life. Like since Little League, I was a middle infielder only. I learned my pitching days were over a long, long time ago. But I can't imagine as a starting pitcher you watch those first two games in a series and you're super excited to go out there and think like, oh great, here comes like I need to pitch in a shootout. So that was awesome. Like that was kind of great to see because it's
And
not
that's
like
what he did against Georgia too. That's kind of the
yeah.
weird thing.
Yeah, it's not like Vandy's bats were cold and he took advantage of it. It's like, no, this team's raking right now, and he absolutely shut him down. I think Jordan Wilson needs to play. Like I love Terrence Keel. I get it, and he's a guy who's been there. He's a guy who's stuck there. I I just think what Jordan Wilson brings to it, and especially if you're going to rely so much on the home run, you might as well just go all in on it. I know Terrence Keel's more of the on base guy. Jordan Wilson's a monster. He's what 6'4", 240 as a. I think he's still 17. Correct, like I believe. I think I heard that this weekend. I think he's got to play. Now the problem now the question is, because I don't think he can't be an outfielder for you.
I think you can DH him with Bender up,
Well, that's the
depending
thing
on the matchup.
But then they need what they need and what they haven't had all season is they need the other guys to stay healthy. Like you can't need to DH Hakopian. You can't need to DH like
No.
whoever like you can't need to DH
Wesley
those guys.
Jordan, who's been out.
Wesley Jordan DHing. Yeah, so it's you have to keep those guys healthy so that he has a spot, which I think in that case he has a spot. But yeah, it was another impressive weekend for A&M. I think we're going to learn a lot more this weekend because I think coming in, especially Texas coming in, what Texas is so good at on the mound is they don't give up big innings and they make you earn stuff. Like they like even in that South Carolina loss where it kind of blew up on them on Thursday, it wasn't like huge home runs, just big inning after big inning, a ton of guys on base. So what can A&M do? We're going to learn if they can like piece together innings where it's like we need to, hey, get a guy on, get him over, get him in type of stuff. Because we're going to learn this is like an NCAA tournament type setting where it's like you can't just rely on 2-run homers, 3-run home runs. And maybe they can't. And maybe that's what they do this weekend. But with this Texas pitching staff coming in who isn't going to walk you, they aren't going to Texas's defense isn't going to make mistakes. So we're going to learn a ton this weekend about like what this Texas A&M offense like in their full potential.
Yeah, we keep talking about, the next month. I mean, they get Texas, they go at LSU, they go to Florida. So they get Texas and then a back-to-back road SEC, which,
yeah,
I mean, every team loses the back half of that double-double, by the way. Like, so you can kind of go ahead and pin. So, I mean, A&M kind of needs to go in and take 2 of 3. You're at home, you're protecting it. Schlossnagle's coming back. I think the one thing,
that place is going to be nuts.
It's a zoo. Is A&M does a tremendous job of making teams play their type of baseball, and that's one thing I think Texas also does really, really well. Is they make teams, so it's going to be kind of conflicting styles. Which one kind of makes the other one blink and play their style? Because I mean, OU got into a shootout with them, Missouri got into a shootout with them, and those are 2 teams that kind of like to play low scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Michael Early's got a few things to figure out. Like, he's got a couple good problems. It's like, okay, do you put TK in? Do you do Bender up? They got to get a little bit more depth out of the rotation. And I said it 2 weeks ago, and I kind of stand by it. Sadeo's outing that they got Thursday from him, like, outside of maybe going into the 6th inning, like, that's going to be what A&M can take. Like, if he goes 5 innings, 5 runs, obviously the bullpen was what really let him down. But, I mean, when Sadeo left, like they were really in that game. And I think that's what it's going to take is just limiting the amount of bullpen outs that you need to get. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be shut out because, the offense behind you is going to be really good. But for Vanderbilt, I actually walked away kind of impressed with them. Is that kind of what you were too? They're not just midweek merchants with the bats. Like they're a big physical team. Obviously they're boom bust with the home runs, but
yeah,
I kind of feel like obviously they have a lot of similar issues as A&M has with the staff. But the lineup seems like it's got a ton of fight.
Yeah, well, but it's once again it's Colin Bard's game. We saw it in like the preseason tournament or the pre-conference tournament. It seems and like this is I don't even know how to put this. I guess they're almost like a product of their environment. It's like whatever type of game you put them in, like that's just what they end up playing. Which it's so strange. It's like if the other team's pitcher is throwing extremely well, then their pitcher throws well. If you get into a shootout like they did this weekend, or like LSU made them do where it just made it ugly. All of a sudden, Vandy started playing ugly, which Vandy with under Corbin is known not to play ugly baseball. and they did it. This team is very strange. It's hard to put a pin on it. It feels like another team is going to be like around that, like Oklahoma, 15-15, 14-16. But also you could say that right now for about half the league. I want to see like what
they feel.
They don't have an identity. They don't have an identity.
They feel a step below that kind of big hodgepodge of teams, by the way. Like similar to Tennessee, where they like there's a whole bunch of teams in that 7-5, 6 they feel like I know that they're 6-6, but they really do feel like a step below. Like
maybe, but it's like they have these games where you're just extremely impressed by them, and then like the next day,
or they get shut out 12-0.
Yeah, you get shut out 12-0. It's like okay, getaway day. So it's so hard to tell what to make of this team.
They're terrible on Sunday. I think that's the only thing that's certain is we know that they're going to lose on Sunday.
I wish I could break it down more because that was one of the series I probably watched the most of, just because it was so entertaining. But it's very hard. Like Carter Johnstone once again, Brennan Johnston once again. Obviously, I mentioned Colin Barksey has these games where he just like takes over. I wish I knew. Like, I wish I could break it down more, but it just feels like one of those teams. They're such a product of their environment. It's like no matter who
so un-Corbin-esque.
That's what I mean. No matter who they're playing against, they're going to play the other team's style more than what Vandy has looked like.
Their team style worse, I might add.
Yeah, more than what Vandy has actually looked like in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's a weird team. Let's move on to another kind of weird team. The Auburn Tigers take 2 of 3 from the Arkansas Razorbacks. Auburn sits at 6-6, while Arkansas sits at 7-5. Again, the Arkansas bats kind of disappeared there for a little bit, as it was, Captain America behind the plate. Yeah. What do you make of Arkansas? Because I feel like we could go on and on and on about Auburn. So let's start with Arkansas. What do you make of them?
Yeah, it's kind of Gackle's second rough outing in a row. Dietz was good. That was actually good to see. Dietz was good. Fisher wasn't again. It's very confusing from their standpoint. They're hitting 234 as a team in SEC play now. I know we talked about a couple of hitters being down last week, but now they're down to 234 as a team. They probably, looking back on it, should have got swept if it weren't like Ryder Helfrich said, "Get on my back. I'm going to carry us to this win," like with his 2 home runs in a low-scoring game. So, yeah, it's tough to make of them. I still think it's
Do you think Maneri cursed them, by the way? Because they're 3-8 since Maneri got fired. And they went from beating Mississippi State, who was top 5, putting 22 runs up on South Carolina, to being 3-8. And one of those is Central Arkansas, who's terrible.
No, because I had them preseason ranked lower than most. Like I had them at 11, which was everybody thought I was crazy for having them at 11, and it just because I was so worried about this offense, and it's kind of coming out like that. And I mean, it's worse than I thought. It's the transfers aren't hitting; they're still striking out a bunch. Until you get more out of Kozel, Helfrich, like obviously Helfrich like carried them, didn't do much the rest of the weekend though. It's a tough spot they're in. They're a confusing team. I kept them ranked because, like I said about Mississippi State, it's like how many teams below them do I actually think would beat them in a series? Like when you're talking about,
they're so good on paper. I'll give you that.
I know
that's what
I mean. It's like how do I keep? It's like we're talking about putting these teams in, and like kind of these borderline teams, like teams I left out, like who I had kind of had was where it's just like, do you put in? Like, do you keep Boston College in? I think Arkansas beats them in a series. Like, do you have like just some of these teams? Like, I know like I kept like have to be above Wake because I think they beat them in a series. Do you like Kentucky? Obviously dropped out for good reason. I know Kansas is one of those that people are talking about, but Kansas is just hot lately. But if you look at their body work, is awful. It's like some of that. It's like I don't think I would pick them like any to lose a series, but they keep losing series. So it's very.
Here's you a question, Nick. Yeah, because I looked this up when I was doing some pre-show stuff. So Arkansas scored 22 runs on South Carolina Friday night, right? How long do you think it took them to get 21 or 22 runs in SEC play?
Oh, it had to be. I mean, in fairness, their schedule has not been kind to them. But I'd probably say until this weekend. If
it would be Ryder Helfrich's home running game too.
I was going to say I was trying to do the math in my head, but in fairness, Mississippi State's pitching staff. Then you get the Florida weekend guys. Florida weekend guys last week were tough. And then who am I missing? They played somebody.
It does. I
this
mean,
weekend too for
it
them,
does open
but
up a little bit.
yeah.
They South Carolina was weekend 2.
Okay,
And
that's
then
right.
Florida swept them, and then Auburn they didn't get over.
Yeah.
I mean, they get Bama, Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss at home, OU, Kentucky. Their last midweek game is April 29th, by the way. I thought that was kind of a little scheduling oddity. They get Pine Bluff, they get Missouri State. So, I mean, the RPI is probably going to be there. Should they get – I mean, they sit at 5-7 in the SEC right now. I think they get 10 wins.
10 wins in the SEC?
10 more.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant 10
total.
total.
Yeah, I mean, they still have Missouri.
I was like, somebody clipped that. I was like, hot take. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 more. Yeah, it's sort of that case where you just expect them to win. Now, I don't think they're a host. And I'll say that because I think where the SEC is at right now, host-wise, like you're behind, let's count it, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, obviously, Mississippi State 4, Texas 5, A&M 6.
Texas.
Yeah, A&M. So you're at 6 hosts already.
Yeah, that doesn't even include OU, who's probably going to get in the race.
That doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, that also doesn't include. Yeah, that doesn't include. Possibly Ole Miss that doesn't include Ole Miss or Florida possibly getting back up there either. So it's or Oklahoma. So it's.
I was going to say, can I give a hot take as we transition?
Please, love hot takes.
I think Ole Miss hosts.
Yeah, that's a hot take. Get out. No, they shouldn't even be. I wish. Dude, oh my God, I was so mad when they got ranked today. And listen, it was, and I think that's what. So I don't So we were kind of talking about. So we were talking about this rankings. It's. They're 3-5 in their last 8 games, and like people are talking about, it's like so recent bias. Oh, they took 2 or 3 at Florida. In the last 8 games, that includes getting swept and also a loss to Memphis, who is 8-21 right now. And it's like people it's all of a sudden that's like escapes everybody's mind because they saw them beat Florida twice. When honestly, Florida should have taken that series. Like if there wasn't a blow up in the 9th, they were 1 out away. I'm thinking the 9th inning from losing that series. Yeah, I was shocked that Ole Miss was a top 25 team. I don't have them ranked. And until I just don't see it.
I don't have them. Let me make sure. Okay, I have them 21, but I should say this. Townsend's been out since that Texas series, and he's their best pitcher, and they've got him healthy again. And I think he's like that much of an X factor. Obviously, Bassetta's kind of come back, but I mean, they figured out Randall at short because I know that Pano and Randall were like doing this thing where they both didn't want to play. So they're starting to get, quality at bats out of a shortstop. They moved Udemark up into the leadoff spot. Furness always seems to kind of come through. I mean, if you talk about guys who always seem to get the big hit, it's Will Furness. Like he seems to always be in that situation. They kind of survived that, anemic offense and then exploded in the 9th. I kind of see what you're saying about, Florida just kind of blowing up. But, flip side of that, Florida's a really good team. And they made a really good
Some
team.
weekends, every other weekend. It's very strange.
They were good this weekend, though. That was the part that was so weird. Like, you can kind of see them.
Florida without Brendan Lawson for 2 games, without Blake Sear for 2 games. And, so that was – and Aiden King, probably his worst start of the year.
And so Peterson only threw 3 innings.
Yeah.
Like Sandiford on Sundays.
Sandiford was shot. Like that's probably the biggest thing to take away from a Florida standpoint.
Yeah,
it has to be
back-to-back good starts for him.
Yeah, if he's your reliable, if you have a Sunday guy that reliable behind, Peterson and King, that makes you extremely dangerous. Now the offense can't keep having these weird. We're the best offense in the country one day, we're the worst the next. It's very strange, but they also need to get healthy. And I get. Lawson, I guess, is physically healthy or outside of having the flu. Blake Sear getting an extremely unlucky concussion. It's like you talk about a guy who just hasn't been able to stay healthy since leaving Miami. He needs to stay healthy because they have to have him on the field. They need his bat. So it just feels like I guess Kurowitz was okay, not great this weekend. He's kind of been the one carrying them along with Lawson. So they need those guys stay healthy on the field because the offense. I don't care if they're world beaters. But this pitching staff, just be consistent.
They're kind of double merchants, aren't they?
Get me 6 to 7 runs, and you're going to win.
I think 5. If you get them 5, they're going to win a lot of these games.
Yeah, you're going to win 18 SEC games if you can get me 5. You give me 5 runs with these starting pitchers. You
I
win
like
18 SEC
Serwick
games.
too. Serwick's one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
He would be on my all Jake team. He had another home run this weekend. But I mean, this is one of those ones. We said we need more data with Bama. We need more data with Florida. We need more data with Ole Miss. I mean, we're gonna learn this time May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We're drinking margaritas. We're gonna know a lot about the SEC. I feel like
maybe, or these weird weekends keep happening and everybody stays right around 500, and we still have no clue what's going on.
So since there is no Rydell report, we can go a little bit long. I have a few questions that I answered myself on Twitter, but I wanted to get your thoughts on them.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, I didn't see anything anybody asked, so this is gonna be off the rip. Let's hope I can.
Alabama, can this team finally shed the Rob Vaughn's Alabama teams run out of gas? 2025, they went 25-4 before going 16-14 down the stretch. Do you see them kind of playing it out?
Yes, and I'll say this because I would say this is the first actual Rob Vaughn team he's had, where it felt like he incorporated a team that was very like. They had some talent, wasn't great. Last year sort of felt like the same way where it's like they relied on the older guys they had. This year feels like the actual toughness that the reason he got hired from Maryland was it was like, okay, we're going to have these guys that bang and we're going to be tough and we're just going to out tough you. And that feels like what this Alabama team is. And especially if they keep winning at home. I think they're 17-1 right now at home. And especially right now, how they're playing. Now they can't have another Kentucky type weekend because this team, and I mentioned that home thing because this is a team that needs to host. And I know a lot of people can say that because, like, yes, it's all SEC teams. If you play at home, you have a great chance to come out of your regional because a lot of teams come in there and just aren't used to that environment. I think Bama might be the team that needs it more than any other team. So I think they put themselves in a great position. I think they need to. I mean, there's probably another. I need to look at their schedule going ahead, but it's like if you don't get swept, you're probably gonna sweep one more series because of how you're playing, especially at home. And then go 1-2.
They get Arkansas. They go to Texas. They go to Tennessee, Vandy at South Carolina, and finish up at Ole Miss. So if they can survive the next 2 weeks, they can survive the next 2 weeks. I mean, realistically, Tennessee's the 14th SEC team. Vandy's the 13th. South Carolina's the 16th. That's as good as you can get.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
They do play at Texas.
Yeah,
but
that's why
they're not.
Team ranked.
I know that.
I was going to say that's why I had this team ranked number, I think 21 in the preseason. Well, just because it was one of those it was part of because of the SEC schedule that they got. It's part of half of this SEC stuff is luck of the draw. Now you don't know how teams are going to turn out, obviously, but that is part of it.
I think they're athletic enough
schedule.
I think they're athletic enough to where Texas doesn't really the ballpark doesn't play away from them like we saw with Auburn and Georgia last year, where teams just kind of go in there red hot and suck. They feel like a team that's built to win at the Dish.
Yeah.
All right, next up. Do we see the OU of the first 2 weekends against A&M and LSU, quote unquote, two teams that have righted the ship? Or do we see what they've done the last 2 weeks against Texas, Alabama as being their future?
Well, that's what I think we kind of answered this one during our game breakdown, where it really is hey, they faced two of the they faced Texas, who I think is the second best team in the country. You think right now have them ranked second. Bama could be the hottest team, one of the outside of UCLA. Where do you see my UCLA tweet and this is what I said, and not to kind of, but it's from our insider's account, it's maybe you can tell me different. UCLA feels like the Dallas Carter from the Friday Night Lights movie, where it's just they're going to be waiting in the in the championship series, and just everybody else can just battle it out and decide who faces them because they're just a gauntlet. But yeah, kind of back to the question we talked about it. These 2 weekends aren't going to tell you much. You face Texas, you face an extremely hot Alabama team. Now, if you continue to struggle, for the next couple of weekends, then that's kind of when it's okay, maybe this team really is that kind of 14, 16, 13, 17 type team. But I don't think they're that.
The Texas Longhorns have 6.
They need Cord Rager healthy too. I know because he got scratched, and it's a tough thing because they said he was lat discomfort is what finally got reported.
Well, he is a freshman, so I imagine he's not had the workload. So Correct. It might just be that.
I just know pitching wise, and that's what they didn't say which arm. They didn't say if it was his throwing side or like his glove side, and that's a thing that can linger. Like especially guys who, especially freshmen, where it's like your body's not like you're still 18, 19 years old. You're not as strong, and your body isn't as built up as you're going to be as a 21, 22, 23-year-old. So it's like it doesn't necessarily recover as fast. If that lingers, especially as a lat, and if it's your throwing side and you're trying to like if every extension, if it hurts, there's nothing you could do about it. So that's why I hate like it's better when somebody gets an actual like you sprain an ankle because you know it's going to heal, or you do something. It's those weird soft tissue stuff that can just linger. So we'll kind of see. Only time will tell on that one. I doubt he throws next week. Like obviously, I don't know. This is not me reporting anything, but I think just because of the spot they're in, I think with him being a freshman, like you mentioned, I think you give him the full 2 weeks off. Obviously, got this week off. I think you give him next week off. Even if
I think it's like Rodriguez with Texas, where you don't want to rush him back.
Correct.
Like,
yeah, well, I mean, Texas isn't. Yeah, they're just in a spot where they're with house money right now. But it's one of those. Given the weekend off, and even if he says he's healthy, I'm still one where it's like, don't care. You're getting one more week off, and we're going to make sure.
Texas has won all 4 of their SEC series so far. There's 6 left at Texas A&M, Alabama, at Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, at Tennessee, and home against Missouri. What was the likelihood that you see Texas finishing with 10 SEC series wins?
Hold on. I just need to pull that up myself. Just because I need to just.
So they Mississippi State at home and A&M on the road are kind of the 2 big ones. Obviously, they're going to have to navigate Bama, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Missouri.
So
but
four right now.
4 of the 6 are on paper winnable.
So 4 right now at A&M, I think they win. Sorry, I think they take 2 out of 3.
I do too, to be honest.
I think if they were at Alabama, that'd be a tough one, but they are at home. They're going to beat Vandy at Vandy. Mississippi State's a scary one. And I don't even say scary. That's just like, okay, you're probably getting a top 5 matchup. So
they're
like
at home.
I know. But if you go 2 out of 3 there, or whether you go 1 and 2, you go 2 and 1, I wouldn't be shocked either way. So I think at Tennessee you win, obviously Missouri. So I think the one to look at, I think Mississippi State's the one to look at. And that's obviously not breaking news to anybody.
I'm going to go 3. And I think A&M gets them this weekend. I think Mississippi State gets them, and then I think Tennessee gets them. I think that'll be the one that Tennessee will kind of be right on the cut, desperate.
Hey, I hope so. I'm with you.
Our last one. What likelihood would you give this series a fluke denomination over Florida if you're Ole Miss, or is this a sign of more things to come?
I kind of mentioned it. I'm more on the fluke side, and I think it's. Because it's not like they showed anything I didn't see. They were an out away from dropping the series. If Florida hits the ball at all, I think if Liam Pearson has half of his normal game, it's one of those. Florida's so like flip a coin on which Florida team you're going to get. And they it happened to land on the bad Florida team twice this weekend. So, which helps.
Well, it was the good Florida team for 8 innings, I should say.
That is fair. But no, because if it was the good Florida team, they would have had more than 2 runs. That
was, I think, a little bit of an announcer's jinx because I was watching it and the announcers were like, "Oh, this 2 runs feels like 10 with the way this Florida." I was like, "All right, bud."
That's the same. Yeah, the same. I had that one on mute because my setup, I have like 4 and then like 1. Like I have 2 TVs. Like so, I have like the quad box on one and then like I have the sound on and like the TV on the bottom. So like that was on a silent one. Never mind, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say. But yeah, that Florida announcer might be the worst one to listen to in the SEC. So I did say it. I
should say I'm not condoning this behavior, but I have I canceled my ESPN Plus and I've just been going on YouTube watching illegal streams.
Dude, they've been actually YouTube has been very, very good about that. I've been trying to do that with like Big Ten ones because I refuse to pay for Big Ten Plus. Like they're just screwing people over. But I have SEC Plus, ACC, obviously ESPN Plus. So I have all those because that's where 95% of the games I watch are on those anyways.
Yeah.
So and it's just one of those. Yeah, it's more. I think it's only like $5 for the Big Ten one, but like out of principle, right now I'm just like I will not do this. Until the Big Ten cares enough about baseball, I'm not going to give them money for like I'm not
Hey.
going to give them baseball money.
Hey, now that might be a 4-bid league.
It is going to be a 4-bid league.
Yeah,
Without
Nebraska might
yeah.
host. By the way,
No, they will not. And
have
I'll
you
tell
seen
why.
how hot they are?
Yes, but I had this talk with somebody on Twitter because I got DM'd about this.
I got DM'd about it too. By the way, I don't know if all these Nebraska super fans are coming out of the woodworks.
It is strength of schedule right now is 138. It is because that's what I was talking with this guy about. Like they are hot right now. Like, yes, they've won 10 straight. They've won 15 straight at home. RPI of 27 looks good. Even if you continue winning, their RPI is going to go down. Strength of schedule being 138 is going to struggle. They're 5-3 in Q1. Q2 is 1-2. 13 of their 26 wins. So literally half of their wins are Q4 wins. And that's a product of their environment because it's very tough up there. Like, and I hate it is the middle of nowhere. Like the people up there know it's the middle of nowhere. There aren't a ton of teams around that you can like schedule for midweek. So like that part does kind of hurt. But like the rest of your series, because I was looking at this.
They get Oregon, they get USC.
I will say, if at Oregon, if you could take a series at Oregon, they get USC at home. So it's like they have their chances in front of them. But do I think they're better than those two teams? No. Then
they
it
get
becomes
12 winnable games down the stretch too. I mean, if they go if they rip off 11-1 or 10-2 and go 3-3, like
yeah, no, it's in front of them.
If they're sitting at 20, sure. I mean, if they're sitting at 25-5 in the Big Ten, like that's a host. And I think obviously that the schedule is going to be what the schedule is. And they're going to but here's the part that's really kind of starting to get under my skin is there's all these Sun Belt teams that aren't dominating inferior opponents that are still kind of hanging around. Like Southern Miss is 7-5 in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, that was one. Yeah, that was a team that I actually dropped Southern Miss quite a bit.
For reference, Florida is 7-5, and that was a debate about whether to put them in the top 25 or not.
I have Southern Miss at 15. Yeah, I dropped them quite a bit. It is one of those, and I have Coastal. Yeah, I mean, I have Coastal high.
Still. I have Coastal at 25, by the way.
What?
I don't think they're that good.
Dude, they are very good. They've lost one. They are literally okay. You just mentioned you want to see those teams in the Sun Belt dominating. They're 11-1. They've lost one team. Like South Alabama got them on Saturday, or I guess this week Friday. Outside of that, they have won. I think whatever it is, they had won like up to that point like 27 straight, like Sun Belt games or something silly.
They beat App State. They beat James Madison. They beat Marshall. Like those are they're doing this thing that UL did in 24, where they're playing all the bad teams and beating them. Like they're not playing. Like Dude, okay, give me Texas State. Give me UL. Like give me some of these teams. They got Arkansas State this weekend. So like I'll eat crow if I'm wrong, but like I'm not really that impressed that you beat Marshall. I'm not really that impressed that you beat James Madison.
You're gonna eat crow. If you want people to attack, they're taking care of business. I know we're getting way off of the SEC tangent, but yeah, this is still a team.
This is actually the Rydell Report now. We're in the Rydell Report hour.
Yeah, we're in the Rydell Report. We're talking mid-majors. Yeah, but this is also a roster where they brought back whatever it is, like 71% of their production last year from a team that went to the World Series finals. And they're also doing this, think of it, without Hayden Johnson, without Cam Flukie. They're doing this without what the closer. Can't even think of his name. Losing with their closer right now. But yeah, it's one of those teams, and they are absolutely taking care of business. They're winning the midweeks they should, like against good competition. They are handling whatever's being put in front of them. They are absolutely handling, and I think that's like until then, like I can't drop them for doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I kind of see that, but I mean, it was the same thing with me for Oregon State. I still am low on Oregon State.
Where'd you have them?
I had him at 10, but I had him at 19 last weekend. I
have Oregon State at 10 as well.
Okay. David, how many SEC teams? Because I looked it up with Micah. How many SEC teams do you think would? Let me get the exact stuff. How many SEC teams do you think would be undefeated during this stretch that Oregon State's been on? Again, I applaud Oregon State. I think that they're a good team. But since Houston, which again, Bama beat them in Frisco, at Xavier, home against Xavier for a 4-game sweep, 3 against San Diego, 3 against Irvine, 3 against Mercer, 3 against Lamar. They've won all those.
Yeah. No, I mean it can at 1,000% be picked apart. I mean, I have.
And then the flip side of that though is this, because they've argued about the midweeks, is if you're going to give them the midweek thing because they beat Southern Cal, they also lost to Portland. They also lost to Washington. So it's like,
yeah, there go my AirPods. That's how I know we've been talking for a while. But yeah, the pitching staff though is the real freaking deal.
Yeah.
I have questions about their offense. It's why I kept them 10th. But I mean, they're sort of, like I said, they're like right now I have them because like right behind them I have UCF and Coastal. They kind of sound, they feel like in that same ballpark, kind of teams. So that's kind of where I have them. I mean, I have them behind Auburn, Bama, Florida State, Carolina, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, obviously the top ones. So it's like until, I don't know, I trust what they build in Oregon State. And I think the offense is finding itself. Like it was bad to begin the year, like very, very bad.
Yeah, it's a good offense. I should say that they were very, very much improved over when I saw them in Round Rock.
And what's different, and you mentioned the SEC thing from the side of it, the difference in most other teams that would, like when we bring up this SEC conversation, Oregon State would have the best pitcher on the mound on Friday, no matter who they're facing.
And the 70% in the SEC, they'd probably have the best Saturday guy.
And
Sunday, they'd probably have 70% too.
Yeah, exactly. So
they don't really have the punch of a lineup, but again, we're kind of getting off tangent.
No, but yeah, if you're holding teams to 2 or 3 runs,
yeah.
that kind of helps. But yeah.
That is all that we have time for here. We're going to have an exciting SEC show on Thursday that we're going to be previewing. I'll be at Mississippi State and Alabama this weekend. A&M, Texas, I'm sure I'll get a lot of the headlines. Georgia, Florida. It's going to be a fun weekend. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.